Okay. I was born in Buffalo, New York, and attended undergraduate school there and received my Bachelor of Fine Arts. Um, then I received a scholarship to study printmaking at The Ohio State University, where I received my Master of Fine Arts. Would you like me to go on?
Oh yeah, that would be great.
And then I taught at Ohio State, and then I went to Israel and taught etching and sculpture at the university in Tel Aviv for 3 years. And then I moved to New York City and became an art director of magazines for Condé Nast. And I was in art direction in magazines for about 10 years. And now I am doing my own art finally. Well, circumstances. I was retiring. I was just out of a marriage, and I had a lot of friends in this area, and I came here and explored the art communities all over Texas, actually. And I found that in Dallas, there was a very strong art community. So I've ended up driving back and forth from Fort Worth, and I do plan on moving to Dallas as soon as I can sell my house because I'm getting tired of the drive. But there's a wonderful printmaking community both in Dallas and in Austin, and lots of workshops and lots of camaraderie, lots of seasoned printmakers like myself. And I love the community because of that. And we're very encouraging. Texas Jewish Arts Association. The first day I was in synagogue, a gentleman came up to me and said, "Oh, are you a member of the Texas Jewish Arts Association?" And I said, "There's an association only for Jewish artists?" And he said, "Well, we like to, promote ourselves. But as it turns out, the Texas Jewish Arts Association is for anyone. But I think it's a wonderful organization, provides juried shows and meetings and interesting topics, and it's just a beautiful community." I think I always wanted to become an artist from childhood. I mean, I always enjoyed creating and designing and drawing, and I knew I would go into it in university. Very supportive teachers in high school that really stirred my creativity even more. But I believe I went into it, and it took me a while to figure out why. I once had a professor, Sidney Chaffetz, at Ohio State University, and he would constantly say to me, "Ronna, art can change the way people think." And I never quite understood it until I really started working towards political statements and feminist statements. And I have quite a few statements about my feelings on the Arab-Palestinian war. Should it be a two-state solution? Should it not be? So much of my work reflects my political and emotional ideas, and this is my way of speaking through art.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it reaches a lot of people, whether it's virtually or in shows. Today, a lot of virtual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have gotten some feedback on my work, and some people agree with it and some people don't. And that's great because if I can stir an emotion and make people think, that's a good beginning.
Yeah.
And that's why I love art. If I'm not making a statement, I'm not interested in making pretty art or art that hangs over couches. Um, I'm interested in people letting me letting people know what my feelings are. And I can do it in a creative way that's wonderful, and I love it, and it's my passion, and I don't think I could be happier doing anything else because it is part of me. Ask me that all the time. It's not abstract, and it's not quite photorealism. It's almost illustrative and somewhat graphic. Um, and it's a way of telling a story. So if you think about comic books and how each frame of each picture tells you what's going on, I guess my work is a frame out of that comic book, but with semi-realistic figures and very often figures of women in strength. So I don't know how to describe it as much as saying it's storytelling.
Okay.
I don't think I can classify it. I studied sculpture and I welded metal and used other materials in undergraduate school, but I also studied printmaking, and that kind of, once I started printmaking, I was hooked. And really, most of my life, I have done etching intaglio on copper plates. And then when I came to Dallas, I met other artists that started combining intaglio with silkscreen, with woodcut. And that was something I was never allowed to do during my BFA and MFA programs, because in those days, in the 70s, printmaking had to be very pure. You don't combine the two or three. But these days, I love combining different techniques. It's exciting, it's fun. And do you want a little bit of a tour?
Oh, that would be great.
I'm here in my garage, which I call my studio. This is a table I do my wiping of plates on. Oh, and most of my plates and materials are over in this wall, which it's a wall that conceals my washer and dryer,
Okay.
but nobody knows. And I am very fortunate to have a press, quite a large press, so I can do, pieces that are 30, 40 inches wide. And this is the press. It's a floor model. And that's it. This is where I do my messy work. And it is messy. Lots of ink all over the place. And it's messy. I've got a soaking tray here for copper plates. And it's all underneath this plastic cover and this ink, which is rusting out. These inks are rusting out because of the heat in Texas. But there's a solution in there where I can etch very large plates, and I have a great big sink to wash out stuff in, and a little crowded in here, but it will be better at a different time. And I have not used my hot plate, but it's over here, and I have a music system on it, so I can listen to music while I'm working, but lately I haven't had to use a hot plate, and I have all my solutions and mineral spirits and turpentine and hard grounds and all kinds of stuff up here. And this is only part of it, because a lot of it is in the house, because I don't keep the heat on all the time. So, or the air on, I should say, the cool air, and some of this heat would really, as well as the cold, it would hurt some of the rollers and stuff like that. So, and I just got a new garage door, which has windows. I'm thrilled, because it was pretty stifling to work in a room without any natural light coming in. So during this season of COVID, it's been really a lifesaver, my studio. I kind of put it together. It was just a bunch of storage, and I put it together about a year ago, and it's working. And I'm able to produce my work. Okay, well, lately I've been doing something called collagraphs, and I use center, which is a large piece of plastic, and I paint a medium on it, which dries and creates texture. Let me show you something so you can get an idea. And then after it dries, I wipe it up with ink. I put it on my press. I dampen paper, put the paper on top of it. Let's see if I can find one of these guys to show you. Okay. I'll take this out into my studio. This is my collograph plate. Let me see if I can aim it.
Yeah.
And it looks darker because some of the ink has set in. And I wipe it with ink and a tarlatan. And I wipe all the high surfaces clean, and the lower surfaces retain the ink. It's called relief printing. And then I put it on this press after it's inked up, and it takes a long time to ink it up. I put it on here, right on the metal bed. I put the paper on top of it, put the felts down, then I roll it through the press. And when it comes out the other side, I don't know if this is clear, but when it comes out the other side, and I would have to roll it all the way through, I take the paper off, and there's my print, and I can continue to do it over and over again, therefore creating an edition of prints. That's what printmakers do. They make one plate or several plates for one piece, and they're able to produce it over and over again. You know, I always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get the same results.
Yeah.
And that's what printmakers want to achieve, trying to make each print identical. And this is just kind of a stencil I use on one of my pieces. So that would be kind of the imagery that I showed you on the original plate.
Right. Yeah.
These kind of fertility goddesses. And am I making it clear?
Yeah.
Printmaking is using a relief surface, an etch surface, applying ink, however you do it, with a roller. If you're using wood, you use a roller to go over it, and it will hit the high spots, the roller, and not the areas that you've carved out. And that's called woodcut or woodblocks printing, woodblock printing. And the beauty is you can make many, many, many prints. And prints are usually not as expensive to buy. as paintings or one-of-a-kind pieces, although each print is original because you hand do each piece. But printmaking was created for artists that wanted to make lots of copies because it became their bread and butter. One of the best examples, not only just to make a living, but to make a political statement, is Rembrandt, Goya's etchings about the Inquisition, the Second Inquisition in Spain, and his statements on the brutality of the church towards human beings, the inhumanities, made quite a strong statement, and he was able to get those ideas spread all over the world because he was able to make many, many copies of the same idea. And that didn't happen too much later than the invention of the Gutenberg press. Johannes Gutenberg invented the press in the 1400s. And we were able to create flyers, newspapers, actually printing the Bible.
Yeah.
Instead of just hand doing everything, you could use wooden blocks with letters on them carved out and use them repeatedly to print the pages. So printmaking was a convenience, a way to spread the word, and also for artists that needed money, because, you know, there's not a lot of artists that are rich. They were able to make a little bit of money here and there selling their prints. And if you know Chagall paintings and Chagall prints, the price is quite different between a print and an original painting.
Yeah.
So I could maybe afford a Chagall print, a very small one. I do, absolutely. I have a few different themes, and one of them is, as I stated before, my opinion on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. As I said, I lived in Israel, and I am a citizen of Israel now. I lived with both populations, and it seemed to work fairly well when I was there in the late 70s. Now there's a wall. There's a wall holding all the Palestinians away from the Israelis. And I've often done pieces, you know, illustrating that wall, the settlements that are being they're being taken over by many religious Jewish groups on disputed land, and the government has chosen to ignore it, and at times this illegal act, sometimes they don't ignore it, but these are still disputed lands. It's not fair to any people to do that. So that's one of the things I often demonstrate in my work, make people think about, you know, what is really going on in Israel, and what are the politics involved, and how fair are they? The other subject that I find very important is feminism. And my background on my father's side, I'm half Sephardic and half Ashkenazi. So half, I guess, the roots are from Spain, and the other half is from what is now Poland. But the Sephardic side of me, which I didn't know a lot about, I explored for quite a while, and now I'm able to do some work that demonstrates females in Upper Africa, which is where my family was sent to, my ancestors, after they were expelled from Spain in 1492. So I've been exploring the culture of Tunisia, Morocco, and the woman's role in that society. And they are not as, let's say, liberated in those countries as they are in the United States. So one theme I'm using now is Wonder Woman. Since Wonder Woman came out in the movie theaters, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years ago, it was banned from Arabic-run countries for 2 reasons. It was showing a strong woman, and Gil Galal, who is the actress that plays Wonder Woman, was very outspoken about the Israeli Defense Force, the IDF. Well, the enemy didn't like that. They didn't like that. So they said, we're not showing these films in Arabic countries. As a result, the women sought out to find this Wonder Woman film and see what it was about. And they have gotten bootleg copies. You know, a lot of people in Tunisia have relatives in Israel and France, and they've been able to see Wonder Woman, and they have made her their idol, their superwoman, what they want to be. And often I use images of women, fertility goddesses, slaves that are rising into the form of a Wonder Woman, kind of like stripping off their garments, and underneath is a strong woman. And in their mind, a strong Jewish woman, because the actress was Jewish. So that's basically what I'm working on. And, you know, I do some other pieces that are just fun and not political and not feminist, but not many.
Okay.
Okay.
And
I like to just juxtapose bright colors, blues and reds, and make the figures vibrant and make the areas vibrant. The colors I use, and I don't always use color, but many times I'll use color to emphasize a point. If I'm doing Wonder Woman and she's clicking her wrists together, and as a comic book would have boom, clang, clash, I might make those words and those lightning bolts coming out in color to make a point. But I usually use color to enhance black and white images. Know which ones I'm sharing yet. But I think one of the pieces is my attitude towards the illegal Israeli settlements, if I choose that piece. And another piece is inspired by Tunisian women. There's a woman in a mule. Mule is mule, and it's feminine. So I always think of a mule as a female. And the two of them are dancing and rejoicing. And in the sky, there is Wonder Woman flying by and smiling and looking over them. And there's also the bird of Israel, which is called I believe the hoopoe bird. It's a white and orange and black bird it was a bird from Egypt, but the Israels believe that the bird flew to Israel um, just as the Jews of Egypt exited to Israel. So it's kind of a symbol of finding your homeland. And those are two pieces. I have another piece that's a statement on suicide and how people are often turning a blind eye to the issues of the younger population and how rampant the suicide, it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten out of hand. There's too many young people taking their lives for granted. And one of those pieces is bodies diving into water while nobody's paying attention. Bodies falling from a bridge into water while no one is paying attention. Another piece is afraid ancient rug with both Arabic and Israeli writing. And there's an image on the top with bullets flying out because the Israeli-Arabic conflict has not only caused death within that Mediterranean area, but also all over the world. That conflict affects all of us, Jewish, non-Jewish, in every country. So, and the frayed rug is kind of folding into the shape of Israel. People to think about issues they may not feel are important, but are quite important. And maybe stop for a minute and say, you know, what is being said, ask what is being said, why it's being said, and will it make a difference in their lives? Or can they make a difference by making situations better and maybe opening up their minds and seeing more clearly?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ronna.
You're welcome. Thank you.